Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
Mainly, we'll be having sourcing request and sourcing project. What is sourcing request? Sourcing request is basically an internal document, or we can say what is internal document. Within your users, you will be having this document which is basically sent by an end user department. What are end user department, promotions department, marketing department, technical department, HR department, sales department. All these are all your internal teams where they want to find out a new source of supply or they want to identify some new quotation. In that case, they will be creating a sourcing request and send it to the procurement department, which is nothing but sourcing as part of procurement activity. The specific level of people will be handling. The development team will be looking at these things. Whereas the procurement team will generally follow up on the purchase orders and the payments and other related activities. You can divide the procurement activities into two levels. One is functional level and strategic level. The strategic team or the commodity managers will be looking at these item requests. They will be processing this. That's basically a sourcing request is an internal document sending from an user department to sourcing department or procurement department to find out the best prices for an available best price and availability of a new requirement. New or existing requirement. Whereas sourcing project is an external document. The face of the document is extended, where you're going to communicate with the vendors to collect certain information from the vendor in normal any of the scenario. We'll take an example. Marketing team. They're launching a new product, but that they need certain items. Say, for example, projectors, they need any quantities of projectors. This is a new requirement for your sourcing team, and they have not done this earlier. What they're going to do, they're going to send this requirement to a large number of people in real time. What will happen is in the older days or previous times, they will be publishing in a newspaper saying that this is our requirement. Whoever can supply, please come to. Please send you the petitions or proposals. That is one method of communication. And second method, maybe you will be having your own portal or your own website or your own notice board, which could be anything there. Also, you'll be posting that. And based on the responses which you have received, then you will be scrutinizing them and taking a selected vendors and you're going to approach them. What is your negotiation task will be doing? The same way in Ariba also, when you're doing this activity, the first activity is called request for information. Expected behavior is you will be sending to a huge number or larger number of suppliers. Large number of suppliers. Here, you want to identify whether they can supply this item and what is the specification at the timeline request for that. Some basic information you are going to find out. Like you were having about, you're going to say in this, 300 of players out of hundreds of players, 50 suppliers have said yes, we are into this business. we can able to supply, but the rest of the 50 suppliers have said no, we are not into this business. We can supply. Here you are able to find out 50 suppliers can supply your requirement. That is what the purpose of RFI. Here, you can also use this RFI to collect additional information, maybe to collect a questionnaire, some template, some related questionnaire, maybe survey. You can send it. It can be used for anything. In this case, the price is not even the focus. That's basically an RFI. The next step is RFP. Here you're going to collect the price, which is nothing but request for proposal. In interviews or in your business JL's job description, you will be seeing RFX. RFX stands for RFI and RFP and RFQ, whatever you call. In other words, there is no RFQ. It's only RF5 and RFP and auctions. The backend terminal, which you are calling RFQ, which is similar to your RFP. At this stage, we are going to collect the pricing information from the 50 suppliers which you have filtered out in RFP stage. Now you are going to collect the price from 50 suppliers and found that there are about 10 suppliers' prices that competing each other. There's a very less margin, maybe 6.56 rupees or something like that. The range between these 10 suppliers are minute. You will unable to take a decision whom you want to give this business. In this case, what you're going to conduct within next one auction, which is also called competitive bidding. In this case, you're going to fill in details of your auction item quantity and with the highest price. Generally, in your purchasing scenarios, the price will be kept at higher. Who will do the competition? They will be loaning the prices. That is also called reverse bidding or reverse auction. Whereas you want to sell something, you will give at the lowest price and the audience are the biggest. They will be there and they will be competing with each other and they will be doing highest bidding. For example, you go to an auction site where the second-hand site, what is the houses or lands or cars, the vehicles, anything that will be sold by banks, they will give you a starting price. They will say 50,000 is bank price. Whoever want to buy this price, please participate. What will happen? That is the lowest item. It is the sales procedure. To the interested party, the one person will say 55, then the other will say 60. That is the bid. Prices keep on increases. That is called forward auction. When that is suits, forward auction, when you want to sell something, this will be suit. Whereas in reverse auction, when you want to buy something, this will suit. In our procurement scenarios, we'll be using most of the reverse auction. These three are interchangeably also called events. Sourcing events we can. Whenever we are talking in Ariba terminology, we'll also come across event management or events related. When we're talking about event, the events can also be supported by Ariba. How they're supporting on auction scenarios. Auction is some kind of a restricted mode or something like that, where you cannot go step back. Suppose you're calling for an auction and they're expecting all the participants, all the bidders to give the prices once they do all those things. And then you start up in something. Some system performance is coming or you want to edit something which you are unable to do it. But generally the changes are not allowed in live auctions. In that case, you can take Ariba's help. Ariba will help. They will also be monitoring the same auction. If you start up something, you can take Ariba's help. That is part of your auction. Event management is supported by Ariba. It's just for your information purpose. which it's again the client. If they are into the business of running these auctions and they want to take Ariba's help, they can request for Ariba's help. What we have seen is sourcing request and sourcing project. And there's one more thing when you're creating a sourcing project. It is after two types. One is fit project. The second one is full project. The difference between these two will be when you're creating a quick project, you need to decide what you want to do. You want to do RFP, or you want to do auction, or you want to do RFI. Only one event only can be possible in the stage of fit project. But full project is consisting of all these or selection of multiple things also. For example, in this case, you want to conduct these three. This is a new requirement. You want to do this activity over a period of time. After 6 months, some other department is also requesting the project. In this case, it is not necessary for you to go ahead with RFI. The previous auction also you have done. It is not even requested for the auction time. Different item or different thing here, you want to go ahead only with RFP. Then you can quickly create a quick project and select the number of suppliers, send out and get the prices from the supplier and give the business to them. That business, giving the business, is called an award. In Ariba technology, we call awarding of a business. That activity is called fit project. If you want to combine this or you want to, for same project marketing team, they're expanding or they're projecting sales. They want to capture all these sourcing events in one group. They want to group together. Like now projectors, they have requested and later they are requesting LED screens. That is also related to the same project. And after that they want leaflets to be submitted. Again, all these activities which you are forming as part of this thing can be clubbed together as a full project. What will happen? You create a full project under the document. You will be selecting fit project and you're performing this activity. The same document can add one more project and do one more event. Later you can do multiple events in a full project. Whereas in fit project, you cannot do multiple events. It is only one event. That is the difference between fit project and full project. Now again, I mentioned that all your upstream related things will be project based. Whenever you're creating even a fit project without creating also is called project. Why Ariba is having this methodology? Whatever you do contact management, SL, P or Ariba, each event or each document is called project. You will be doing the project and project base will be on your template. These templates we are going to create or we are going to create expert business requirements which will drive the process. Like doing this activity, what is the first step? What is the second step? What is the third step? All these things will be driven by project templates that we're going to create. When you're creating a sourcing request or a sourcing project, you will be selecting these templates. In sourcing module and contract module, you can have multiple templates. You can create a number of templates depending upon your requirement. Maybe for reason specific you can create, commodity specific you can create, or the approval specific you can create, or maybe a category of items. Capital purchases you can create. Depending on the requirement, you can create multiple templates. When it comes to SLP, whatever this sourcing and contract management it is, you can create SLPs. When सारे multiple templates can be created. Coming to the supplier performance SLP side, you can only have one template. You need to keep on edit those templates and make the changes and publish it. Here, Before we go into the reverse pins, how we clear on the sourcing module. You can create sourcing projects from here. You click on sourcing project, sourcing request. These are the two differences. And sourcing request is not compulsory. You can directly create a sourcing project also. Sourcing request will create as a base document when you are creating a sourcing project based on sourcing request. The same you can create on the left hand side also. Whatever you're clicking on home page, you will be seeing all the documents related to contracts and sourcing. Everything will be visible here. But when you click on sourcing module specific to sourcing, then you will be seeing the documents related to sourcing. On the left hand side under my document, you can see. Let me zoom in. By going through these icons also, you can able to identify what is it. RFX, which is nothing but RFI or RFP or something. When you see the dollar sign, that is the full project. When you see RFP, RFX, RFP, then when you're seeing this hammer symbol, that is basically auction. You can identify whether that is a sourcing request or sourcing project or an auction or an RFP using those symbols also. And these are all the documents related to sourcing. When you click on View All, it will also give you a sourcing project. SPM should not be visible here anyway. Yes, I mentioned that the status is R5. How many are in the draft state? Draft is the first state when you're creating. It is nothing, but after composing the status is called draft. Once it is submitted, it will be in the preview period. Open period means you are allowing the suppliers to give the responses, that is open period. Once the suppliers have been provided where the time is in, then it will go to the pending selection. You are going to decide whom you want to give the business. Once you give the business, then the final stage will be completed stage. You can see RFI documents how many newer in the number count will be N887 in draft status, 177 in pending session, and how many are completed. You can get this information, tabular information, which may be helpful. Today, activities is nothing, but whenever you are performing some action, you will be getting those items added here, which are similar to your approval also. It is telling to do certain activities. Let's create one sourcing request first. Sourcing request. As I mentioned, sourcing request is an internal document which is created from an end user to the sourcing department, sourcing manager or sourcing agent. I'll be creating sourcing request for marketing team. Then I can add it's up to your format. Whenever you want to, whenever you're creating this, give the details in this format or whichever the format which you are comfortable. Anytime you're searching, you can able to search. For example, you're creating a sourcing request for marketing team and this is for winter promotion. You can add that description here. This will be helpful when you're searching, when you center with the fintech. All the document process for winter will be visible. Here you can give the description. What the description? These are all requirement, but these sourcing request as per winter promotions. See later you can add. This will be helpful. Whenever someone is opening this, they will see the description, not your department. The other department which they are opening may be finance department or audit department. When they open, they will understand more from this description. Copy from project. If like first project you have created over a period of time, you will be having the same project Or if you have known earlier you have done something similar to this, you can choose Copy Project. The rest of the fields will be automatically copied, including the template selection. That is your copy project. Project state. This is a project state is an activity which you are going to say whether it is a planned activity or it is an activity. Just to differentiate, for example, I'm just preparing the project for which will be starting August 1st. In that case, I can mark this as a planned. Once you select plan and activity, the system will tell you when is the planning period. And it seems to plan. It will tell you when is your plan start date and when is your plan end date. After the plan date that the project becomes active. Whenever you are getting a doubt, if you do not know what is this field stands for, click on that I, which will give you more information. This indicates the current state of the project. Plan indicates the project has not yet begun. The state is on hold completed and cancel will be available while editing this project. Base language, English region. If you are creating this particular project for specific region, if there are multiple reasons are there, then you can choose this option. Whatever the fields visible is the controlled by Ariba. If you want to change them, or you want to rearrange, or you want to add, that will be done by Ariba. You need to work with Ariba to get these changes done. This is what I was mentioning. This was to the way whether we are going to handle ourselves or you're taking a help from Ariba resources, you can differentiate. Why this is needed? You can filter out the project which you have done through Ariba and with the project which are done internal resources. How much is the spend you're expecting from this particular project? I'm expecting 200,000 to be spent for this one. I want to achieve at least 7% of the targeted savings. Project reason why you're creating this project. It's a new requirement or a new component of re-engineering or to meet saving goals. You are already having an existing contract, but you want to find out new source of supply that you will be saving. You can choose this one. These are all for reporting purposes. When you're doing it, you can do that. In my case, it is a new requirement. I'm just selecting new requirement. Predecessor project. What is predecessor project? If you have created earlier some project related to the same purpose, for example, if I'm creating an RFP, I have already created an RFP, then I can select the predecessor project. What will happen when you select predecessor project? A link will be established to switch over from predecessor project to current project or from current project to predecessor project to the following project. That action is possible when you're selecting predecessor project. What is your previously done? This will also give a link to the people accessing this one. You have done VR activities using predecessor project. The rest of the field we can ignore. When your site is integrated with an RFP system, then it will ask you to select which external system. Once you complete this activity where you are going to communicate, that will be visible here. If you do not have ERP end, then you will not be seeing this integration option also. As I mentioned, the template activity will be part of our responsibility. We'll be choosing one of the template from here. Let's select. These are all. People have created many templates. We need to Again, as I mentioned these things, in reality, you will not be having this many projects. Only 4 or 5 templates will be visible. We can select also. Select one of them and create. Selecting it. Let's see. Click on create. The visibility of these templates also can be controlled based on your selection parameters. This looks fine. This is a good one. The selected template makes sense. Like yesterday also, we have seen when you're doing SPM activity, you're seeing the tabular information. The same way all your projects will look like. The hover wheel will give you the details about what you have entered while creating the sourcing request. The SR number is created by system. Ariba numbering will create the SR number by fifth. When you're creating a content workspace, it will prefix by Sidhu. And something is created as a project, it will be BU. A. All IDs will be created. This is again the Ariba's control, which we generally do not maintain. And it is not even relevant also. Click on Action Edit Overview in order to know which template we are using here. The option will be there. You're using sourcing request December 2022. Question 1 out of 1. We are using this template for the sourcing request. That information you can collect from. You can know from Edit Overview tab. And also, as I mentioned, as I replied, I think we have seen yesterday compact view and full view. Compact will be showing you in one-page view where you can able to see all the tasks. Earlier these tasks are showing on a tabular form, but now it is showing in the one-page scenario. I will go back to the full view, compact view and full view. The documents here you are sourcing request items. I just created a project, but I have not entered the details of my requirement that I'm going to entering in document, which is sourcing request item. Going to the task, here it is scheduled. Send a notification for new sourcing request. A template has been sent already. Some sourcing request has been created. That notification will go to the sourcing manager. He will be receiving an email saying that some sourcing request has been created. Now the person who is creating the sourcing request has to perform these two activities. What he has to do? He has to prepare the sourcing request. Select the drop-down button, Mark Started. That means I am running this. I am creating the sourcing request. How do you create the sourcing request? Go to the document, select request items, edit. You can see not created status. It will change now. Say request item. Click on. If you want to add some item, you can add them. Description click. At this stage, if you know which of the supplier you can do that. Otherwise, sourcing manager or sourcing agent will take care of adding the participant. Going to the content page. Here you're going to fill the details of your requirement. You can ignore this one. This is coming from the template. Somebody has created this one. You can keep this one or you can add your requirement. If you're working with this, you can keep it or you can just click on delete. I'll be adding a line item. While click on add, you will be having line item. There are more number of items. You can do that in a section wise. Create one section for stationery item. Create one section for promotional item. Create one item for IT category. Like that, you can create a section and add line item. And for simplicity, I'm just creating a line item. Now you can add a section. We are saying that we are doing a promotional activity for a marketing department. What I'm collecting here, LED boards. LED boards for Winter 2020 promotion. Here I can give LED boards with size of 10 by 10 foot. A required quantity 5 numbers. Budget can be utilized from. You can give as much information. Or you can specifically mention LEDs of how much voltage on the board 5th barter, something like that. Whatever the specification which you are having, you can enter. You can select which commodity it belongs to. This may be electronics. This is an India visible to participant. You can ignore. And how much quantity you need is 5 quantity. You enter the 5 quantity. If you know price, maximum price can be sent. You can enter. At the time, you can ignore. You want to enter additional details by clicking on this arrow button, which will expand requested delivery time. I want this to be available by September. By 31st, I want to receive this one. And which country? Indian. For file. We have that. Click on Done. Click on Next. Click on Exit. I have filled in the details of my requirement. Return to project. Going to the task. Now I have completed. Mark complete. You can see the task has been completed and it is reduced from 2 to 1. Next, I have to send this one. You can set up a policy that sourcing requests can be done by an end user, but sourcing team or sourcing agent or main user will only look after if it is approved by your main user. That is what you are going to do under approval. You can either click on the time. Then it will validate the existing approval flow. When you want this approval to be happened. I want this approval to be happened today, September. By tomorrow, I want this approval to be done. You can put message to an approver. Please approve. Sourcing request required for winter promotion, something like that. 2030. You can see by default, if there is an existing approval flow, it will tell, or you can add initial approval also. In this case, there is no approval is defaulted. In that case, once I submit automatically, the approval task will be completed. Once you complete this approval step, you can see the status change to approve and this task also will become 0. Just click on refresh. It becomes 0. Now go to the document step. You can see sourcing project is created. Earlier, it is not there. As soon as some approval is done, then it is allowing the sourcing team. In first instance, sourcing managers have been notified that some sourcing request is created. At this stage, one more notification will be gone for the sourcing manager saying that is approved and you can able to process with sourcing project. Now what you'll be doing? The sourcing agents will be performing the sourcing project activity. At this stage, sourcing request is completed. Now it is in the bucket of sourcing team to find out the supplier. Is this clear? Yes, soon. You can also add thank you. You can also add in the teams who are all will be your part of your team. By default, sample user 7 will be an observer for this project. Whoever created this project will become the project owner. As I mentioned, project owners will consume the license. Upstream will be having limitations on number of users who can create the project. This permission will be given only to certain users. That will be licensing cost. The person who is creating will become a project owner. Sourcing manager. Sample users have it and the people with the group. This is user and this is the group. With this group permission, whoever having that, they will be having sourcing manager access. Technical manager also added into the approach flows. You can add additional groups or you can even add additional members by clicking on edit. Either you can add additional group by clicking on add group or you can add additional members to this particular group. Maybe for technical manager, I want to add one more person. I'm just selecting buyer. 7 is also a technical manager. Click on. Like this, you can modify your teams in Teams tab, Task tab and Document tab. Now the next step of our process will be creating a sourcing project. As I mentioned, this will go to an external party. Click on this one. Click on Open. You can see not created. It will change to the different status once we create the sourcing project. Sourcing project. These are all winter promotion. These things are copied from the sourcing request. And here you're going to decide again you want to do a full project simply similar to what we have created now, or you want to quickly create an RFP for this particular project. I want to create a RFP event type. As soon as I select a network project, it is forcing me to select what type of event you want to create. RFP I want to create. I'll be creating RFP. Again, you will be selecting relevant RFP template. I'm selecting this, assuming this will be a good template. Click on Create. Earlier, what you have seen is sourcing a request document number. Now I am creating a sourcing project. Now the steps includes rules, team, suppliers, content summary, timing rules. Now I am going to send this to an external party. How much period I can wait? That is what you're going to say, due date. When I'm sending to the supplier, I'm expecting them to respond within 2 days of time. That is what you're mentioning here, 2 days. Or something is an urgent requirement, then you can mention hours also. Or a fixed date by tomorrow's end of the day. Then you can select a fixed date and enter the date and time. Anyway, once I submit this one, I want 2 days of time. I'm giving. When this event will be published, when I click publish button, once I complete this 5 step, once I click publish immediately, I want to start. Or I want to run this in the midnight. Today to look like I want to run. I will leave for 2 days, then you can schedule for a future date. In this scenario, I'm just clicking on. As soon as I publish, I want to start and I will be waiting 2 days after time. Let's ignore these bidding rules and let it go as it is. We will not be touching at the moment. We'll be explaining that in a different section. Let's go to the next one. Either you can click on test or click on this navigation as team. Do you want to add additional members into your team group? You can do that. This case, I'm with this. I'm moving to the next one. Here you're going to select which supplier you want to communicate. Invite participants. Let's select Ariba Seller email come. I think the name of this select. And that is seller. There are 4 sellers. Something I'm just randomly selecting it. You can see here the vendor is same. With AAN 111725680. It is showing 2 email contacts. This is what in the real-time example. Whenever you're having one company with multiple salesmen, which salesman you want to communicate, you can use this one. I will be selecting this salesman. It doesn't matter. We will use dummy emails instead of real emails. Test it might has come. The 2 suppliers subtest mail come. I'll be selecting random suppliers. Click on. This will be added to your supplier database. Or if you want to add more, you can do that. Here you will also see create new supplier. You can even create in sourcing module. You forget about what we have done in SLP. In sourcing module, when you are sending for an RFP, you can directly create a new supplier. That is possible. New participant means you are already having an organization name. You want to add one more salesman, then you will be using new participant. Either you can create a new supplier and use the participant from this screen also. It is possible. In some cases, where your client is only taken sourcing module, only they can create a new supplier. They can communicate with a new supplier. There is no problem. Even the supplier which you are creating here, you can get the quotation and all. That is fine. But when you're giving the business, it will ask you to select what is the status of supplier you want to give the business, which we are going to see in coming session. At this stage, I just want to say I'm adding 3 suppliers into the sourcing module. Click on. These 3 suppliers will be added into the will be sent. Mail will be sent to this supplier. Now you can also see additional information invited over the status of the supplier. Who has invited the supplier? Income supplier means if you have purchased this item from earlier, that becomes an income supplier. Registration status, this seller is a registrator, but qualification is the vendor is a registrator and he is also qualified. Vendor after he is not even invited, but he is qualified. How it is possible to create data upload? We can make this supplier qualified. That is what happened with this supplier. Whenever you're monitoring, you observe these ones also. Then you will understand how this functionality is working. Click on Next. This is where we want to see whatever the details which we have entered as part of our sourcing request is appearing or not, that we are going to see in conducting. This is copied from your sourcing request, which is showing LED board for winter 2020 promotion. Now sourcing team knows better. What they're going to say, the price for this will be 10%. Click on Update Total. Actually, we don't need to give the price. One more thing I want to do next, suppliers. In order to act as the supplier, I need to make one of the supplier's rules. Just want to show you one rule, whether surrogate bidding is allowed or not. Allow surrogate bids when the event is closed. Require surrogate bid justification no. It is not enabled. Surrogate bidding means you can act as a supplier and give the prices. Select it. Anyway, our motive is to capture this event data and click on Next. Click on Next. During summary, it will tell you to review your details. There is one error which is stopping us. What is that error? Specific bidding rule for item 1. What is that? Maybe, Sanjay, you have checkbox with the surrogate software, right? Maybe we need to maintain the software as you do. No, that will not stop you to process. Let me just say my specific bidding rules for item 1. Let's go to the rules. Actually, maybe it changed here. This could be deals for item 1. Item Here it will also give you. One more option is before you send me a supplier, you do not know how it will look at the supplier that you can use. Click on Action View as the participant. For example, Vanguard. When I click on Vanguard, it will tell for Vanguard how this visibility will be visible. Here, he will be sending this quantity and he'll be entering the price. He'll be entering certain information like price. He will be entering enclosure discount price. One requirement, priority, yes. Requirement of the tested contact, the total. By looking at this, if you feel something is not required or something you want to change, you can able to change before you publish this event. At this time, it looks fine for us. Then you can gain this preview. I can do one activity, bill pay. I think one more can be submitted. I see 3. I have one line item. Or I can take the line item from. I can show you one more feature. I can directly add a line item here, or I can also import from library also. I can take from previous library by clicking on content from library. This is then we explore more projects from the drop-down. Earlier some library which is available. You can choose this one. I'll be selecting. I'll search for events which we have created in the past. Such library are events. If I want to select from Saucy events, and you'll be given type of activity. Print, these are all events which are created. Let's click Demo Laptop. Select. Under which part? Line 8. And there is no line 8. Select. I'm just copying one line 8 to select, and there is no line 8. Let's give it time. Now you can see the publish button. As soon as published now, you will be having one. That means the event's now active, which is available for 23 hours, 15 and 43. 1 day and 3. I have mentioned for 2 days of time. Another 2 days. These suppliers can respond and participate also. With these states, now we have sent to external supplier and they can be able to give the responses. Select. With this, we have completed how sourcing project can be created using SOCI. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.